My name is Rachel. I am 38 years old. I live in a small, quiet town. My house is yellow. It has a little garden with red flowers. I have a daughter. Her name is Emily. Emily is 12 years old. She is my world. She is my everything. I love Emily, more than words can say. Every morning I make her breakfast. We talk about her school. We talk about her friends. Her laugh is the best sound in my house. It makes the whole house feel warm. Our life was simple. It was happy. I thought it was perfect. I worked part-time at a local bakery. I liked my job. It allowed me to be home when Emily finished school. We would do homework together. We would watch movies. Sometimes we baked cookies. Emily loved to lick the spoon. These small moments were my treasure. I held them close to my heart. But sometimes, a strange feeling would come. It was like a tiny cloud in my blue sky. Emily didn't look much like me. I have brown hair and brown eyes. Emily has blonde hair and bright blue eyes. So different. People often said, "Oh, she must look like her father." I would nod and smile. Emily's father left when she was very young. I raised her by myself. So, I told myself it was normal. Children can look like one parent more than the other, or like grandparents. Yes, that must be it. I pushed the strange feeling away, deep, deep down. But the feeling was stubborn. It didn't go away completely. It would whisper to me late at night, when the house was quiet, when Emily was sleeping. I would look at her sweet face, her blonde hair spread on the pillow. My heart would ache with love. And then, the tiny whisper. She looks so different. I felt guilty for these thoughts. So guilty. How could I doubt anything about my Emily? She was mine. I felt her first kick. I held her in my arms on the day she was born. She was my baby. One day, I was watching a TV show. It was about families finding lost relatives. They used DNA tests. The tests showed who was related. It was just a show. But a thought sparked in my mind. A DNA test. What if? No, that was silly. Crazy. Why would I do that? I knew Emily was my daughter. I knew it in my heart. My heart knew. Didn't it? The thought stayed with me, like a little seed. It started to grow. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was being foolish. But the strange feeling, the old whisper, it got a little louder. Maybe it was because Emily was growing up. She was asking more questions about her father, about family, about who she looked like. I wanted to give her answers, clear answers. I talked to my best friend, Sarah. Sarah is very kind. She always listens. I told her about my strange feeling. I told her about the DNA test idea. I felt embarrassed, saying it out loud. "Rachel," Sarah said gently, "Emily is your daughter. You raised her. You love her. That's what matters. But," she paused, "if this thought is bothering you so much, maybe a test will give you peace of mind. So you can stop worrying." Peace of mind. Yes, that's what I wanted. I wanted the whispers to stop. I wanted to be sure. completely sure. So the love for Emily would be pure without this tiny dark shadow. So, I decided, I would do a DNA test, just a simple one. For me, to silence the whispers. I ordered a kit online. It arrived in a small plain box. My hands trembled when I opened. It looked so simple. Just some swabs, some instructions. This little box could tell me something. I wasn't sure what I expected. I think I expected it to say, "Yes, of course, she is your daughter. Now stop being silly." That's what I hoped for. That's what I prayed for. I waited for a day when Emily was at school. My heart was beating fast. I read the instructions carefully. I took a swab from my cheek. Then, the hard part. I needed a swab from Emily. I told her it was for a fun school project about family trees and ancestry. She didn't ask many questions. She trusted me. That trust made my heart ache with guilt. What was I doing? Was I betraying her trust? But the need to know was too strong. I took her swab gently. I put both swabs in the little tubes. I sealed the envelope. I walked to the post office. My legs felt heavy. With each step, I wanted to turn back, to throw the box away, to forget about it. But I kept walking. I mailed the package, then the waiting began. They said it would take a few weeks. Those weeks felt like years. Every day I checked my email. My heart jumped every time my phone made a sound. I tried to act normal with Emily. I made her breakfast. We talked. We laughed. But inside, I was a storm of emotions. Fear, hope, guilt. What if the test showed something I wasn't ready for? But that was impossible, right? Of course, she was mine. One afternoon, I was at work. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was an email. The subject line said, "Your DNA results are ready." My breath caught in my throat. My hands started to shake. I quickly told my boss I wasn't feeling well. I needed to go home. I drove home very fast. My mind was blank. I couldn't think. I just needed to see the results. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Emily and I shared so many meals. I opened the email. I clicked the link. My heart was pounding in my ears. I saw a lot of numbers, a lot of words I didn't understand. Then I saw the summary, the part that explained the mother-child relationship. I read it once. I didn't understand. I read it again and again. The words swam before my eyes. Probability of maternity, 0%. 0%. What did that mean? 0? No. It had to be a mistake. It was wrong. This was impossible. Emily was my daughter. I felt her grow inside me. I gave birth to her. I held her. I loved her. This test was wrong. It had to be. My world tilted. The kitchen seemed to spin. I felt cold. So cold. Tears started to stream down my face. Hot tears. Tears of confusion. Tears of panic. 0%. The words echoed in my head, louder and louder. She wasn't my daughter. the DNA said she wasn't my daughter. I don't know how long I sat there, crying, shaking. My mind was racing. How could this be? How? Was the test wrong? Did they mix up the samples? Yes, that must be it. A mistake at the lab. A terrible mistake. I clung to that thought. It was the only thing that stopped me from falling apart completely. But deep down, a colder feeling started to spread. The old whisper, the strange feeling I had for years. It wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a shout. I told you she looked different. Oh God, what if the test was right? What if she really wasn't my biological daughter? The school bus would arrive soon. Emily would come home. How could I face her? How could I look her in the eyes? My sweet Emily, my daughter. Or not my daughter? My heart broke into a million pieces. I felt like I couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. This was a nightmare. I quickly wiped my tears. I tried to compose myself. I had to be strong for Emily. She couldn't see me like this. When she came home, I hugged her extra tight. So tight. She giggled. Mom, you're squeezing me, I forced. A smile. I just missed you, I said. My voice sounded strange, shaky. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept looking at the DNA results on my computer screen. 0%. The number stared back at me, accusing me, destroying my world. I thought about the hospital. The day Emily was born. It was a small local hospital. It was a busy night. I remembered. Many babies were born. Could something have happened? A mix-up? A switch? The idea was horrifying, unthinkable. Could babies be switched at birth? It sounded like something from a movie. Not real life. Not my life. The next day, I called the DNA company. I asked them if there could be a mistake. They were very polite. They explained their process. They said mistakes were very rare, almost impossible. They suggested I could retest if I wanted. But their answer gave me no comfort. It only deepened my fear. I knew I couldn't live with this uncertainty, this agony. I had to find out the truth. The whole truth, whatever it was. I owed it to Emily, and I owed it to myself. And if Emily wasn't my biological daughter, then who was? And where was my baby? My biological baby? The thought opened a new wave of pain. A pain so deep I could barely stand it. I decided to contact the hospital where Emily was born. It was 12 years ago. Would they have records? Would they listen to me? I was so scared, but I had to try. I called them. I explained my situation. My voice trembled. The person on the phone sounded surprised, skeptical. They told me to come in, to bring Emily's birth certificate and the DNA report. Walking into that hospital again was hard. So many memories. Happy memories of holding my newborn baby. Or so I thought. Now those memories felt tainted, confused. I met with a hospital administrator, a serious-looking woman. I told her my story, I showed her the DNA results. She looked at them carefully. Her face was hard to read. She said they would investigate. It would take time. She said these things were extremely rare. She didn't promise anything. More waiting, more sleepless nights. I felt like I was living in a fog. I tried to be normal for Emily, but I think she sensed something was wrong. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked one evening. "You seem sad." I hugged her. "Just a little tired." "Sweetie," I lied. The lies were piling up, making my heart heavier. During this time, my friend Sarah was my rock. I cried on her shoulder many times. She listened. She held my hand. She didn't judge me. "Whatever happens, Rachel," she said, "Emily is your daughter because you raised her. You love her. Biology doesn't change that love." Her words were a small comfort. But my heart was still breaking. After what felt like an eternity, the hospital called me back. They asked me to come in again. My heart pounded in my chest. This was it. I would know. I went alone. I couldn't bear to bring Emily into this yet. The administrator looked grave. She spoke slowly, carefully. She said they had reviewed the records from 12 years ago, from the night Emily was born. There was another baby girl born that same night, in the same ward, to another family. And yes, there was a possibility, a small possibility, that a mistake had happened, a human error, a terrible, unimaginable error. They explained that sometimes in a busy nursery, if procedures weren't followed perfectly, babies could be accidentally switched, given to the wrong mothers. My blood ran cold. Switched? My baby? Given to someone else? And I had raised someone else's baby? It was too much to comprehend. They told me the name of the other family, the Miller family. They still lived in a nearby town. The hospital offered to contact them, to explain the situation, to suggest DNA testing for them and their daughter. Their daughter who was born on the same night as Emily. Their daughter who might be my biological child. I felt numb. I couldn't speak. My mind was reeling. Another family. Another girl. My biological daughter, raised by strangers. And Emily, my sweet Emily, was their biological child. It felt like my world had been shattered into a million tiny pieces. Nothing made sense anymore. The hospital contacted the Miller family. I can only imagine their shock, their confusion, their pain. It must have been like a bomb dropped on their lives, too. They agreed to do a DNA test. The waiting for those results was even worse than before. Now there were two families involved, two girls, two lives turned upside down. During this time, I had to tell Emily something. I couldn't keep her in the dark any longer. It was the hardest conversation of my life. We sat on her bed. I held her hand. I told her about the DNA test. I told her about the possible mistake at the hospital. I told her, very gently, that she might not be my biological daughter. Her blue eyes filled with tears. She looked so confused, so scared. But you're my mommy, she whispered. Her voice broke my heart. Yes, sweetie, I said, crying with her. I am your mommy. I will always be your mommy. I love you more than anything. Nothing can ever change that. This DNA stuff, it's complicated, but it doesn't change my love for you. We held each other and cried for a long time. She asked so many questions I couldn't answer. I felt so helpless, so guilty for bringing this pain into her life. Then, the results from the Miller family's DNA test came. The hospital called me. And then they called the Millers. It was confirmed. The switch was real. Emily was the biological daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Miller, and their daughter, a girl named Olivia, was my biological daughter. My biological daughter. Olivia. I had a biological daughter named Olivia. She was 12 years old. She had been raised by another family. I had missed her whole life. Her first steps, her first words, her birthdays. A wave of grief washed over me. So intense, so painful. The hospital arranged a meeting for me to meet the Millers and for them to meet me. And for us to meet the girls. Our biological daughters. I was terrified. What would they be like? What would Olivia be like? Would she look like me? Would she hate me for this? What about Emily? How would she feel meeting her biological parents? The day of the meeting arrived. It was at a neutral place, a family counseling center. My hands were so sweaty. My heart was beating like a drum. I walked in with Emily. She held my hand tightly. I saw them, a man and a woman, Mr. and Mrs. Miller. They looked ordinary, scared, just like me. And with them was a girl. She had brown hair, brown eyes. My hair, my eyes. She looked like me. That was Olivia, my biological daughter. My eyes met Olivia's for a second. She looked away quickly, shy, scared. My heart ached. Mrs. Miller, her name was Susan, looked at Emily. Her eyes filled with tears. Emily looked so much like her. The blonde hair, the blue eyes. The resemblance was clear. We all sat down. There was a counselor there to help us. The silence in the room was so heavy, so full of unspoken emotions. Pain, confusion, anger, sadness, love. It was all there. Tangled together, Mrs. Miller spoke first. Her voice was soft. "Hello, Emily," she said. "You are very beautiful." Emily just looked down at her hands. Mr. Miller, Tom, looked at me. "This is a lot to take in," he said. I just nodded. I couldn't find my voice. Then I looked at Olivia. "Hello, Olivia," I managed to say. My voice was shaky. She gave a small, nervous smile. She looked like a good girl. Quiet. Sensitive. Just like I was at her age. We talked for a long time that day. We shared stories about the girls, about their baby years, their personalities, their favorite things. It was so strange, so painful. Mrs. Miller cried when I told her about Emily's love for animals. I cried when she told me about Olivia's talent for drawing. We were learning about the daughters we never knew, while sitting next to the daughters we had raised and loved as our own. Meeting Olivia was surreal. She was a part of me, my flesh and blood, but she was also a stranger. I wanted to hug her, to tell her I was her mother, but I couldn't. It wasn't that simple. She had a mother, Susan Miller, the woman who had raised her for 12 years, and Emily, my sweet Emily. She sat quietly beside me, listening, taking it all in. I could feel her fear, her confusion. I wanted to protect her from all this, but I couldn't. The truth was out, and it was changing everything. After that first meeting, we started to meet more regularly, sometimes just the parents, sometimes with the girls. It was awkward. It was difficult. There were many tears, many difficult conversations. Emily was confused. She loved me, but she was curious about the Millers, her biological parents. She started spending some time with them. Short visits at first. Olivia was quiet, reserved. She was polite to me, but distant. I tried to connect with her. I told her about my life, about her grandparents, about things I liked. She listened, but it was hard. She had her own life, her own family. I was an outsider. The hardest part was figuring out what to do next. There were no easy answers, no rule book for this kind of situation. Lawyers got involved. They talked about legal rights, about custody. But this wasn't just a legal issue. It was about hearts, about families, about love. Some people said we should just switch the girls back to their rightful families, they said. But how could we do that? Emily was my daughter in every way that mattered. I had raised her, loved her. She was part of my soul. And Olivia was the Miller's daughter. They loved her. How could we just uproot them? Tear them away from the only families they had ever known? It felt cruel, unthinkable. We all agreed on one thing. The girls' happiness came first. Their well-being was the most important thing. We decided not to make any sudden changes. We would take things slowly. We would let the girls lead the way. It was a painful journey, full of ups and downs. There were days I felt so lost, so hopeless. I grieved for the baby I never knew. I grieved for the simple life I had lost. I worried about Emily. I worried about Olivia. I worried about the future. But slowly, very slowly, something started to shift. We started to build a new kind of normal. A very unusual normal. Emily started to form a bond with the Millers. She enjoyed spending time with them, learning about her biological family, but she always came home to me, to our yellow house. She still called me Mom. She still needed my hugs. My love for her didn't change. If anything, it grew stronger, more protective, and Olivia. Slowly, she started to open up to me. We found common interests. We both loved to read. We both liked quiet walks. She started asking me questions about my life, about her biological grandparents, She even started calling me Rachel sometimes, with a shy smile. It wasn't the mother-daughter bond I had dreamed of. Not yet. Maybe never. But it was something. A connection. A fragile new beginning. We became a strange extended family. Two families. Linked by a mistake. Linked by two precious girls. We spent some holidays together. Awkward at first, but slowly getting easier. We celebrated 4 parents' days. 2 mothers, 2 fathers, for each girl. It was complicated, it was messy, but there was also love. A lot of love. I learned that family is not just about blood. It's about love, about commitment, about showing up every day. Emily is my daughter. My heart knows this. My soul knows this. The DNA test changed the facts of her birth, but it didn't change our love. It didn't change our bond. Olivia is my biological daughter. I love her. I am getting to know her. I will always be there for her, in any way she needs me. It's a different kind of love. A love that is growing. A love that is finding its place. This journey has been the hardest thing I have ever faced. It shattered my world. But it also taught me so much. It taught me about strength, about resilience, about the true meaning of family. It taught me that love can survive anything, even the most shocking truths. My life is not simple anymore. It is complicated. It is messy. But it is also richer, fuller. I have 2 daughters in my life now, in different ways. My heart has expanded. It has made room for more love. More pain, yes, but also more joy. If you are listening to this, and life has thrown you a big surprise, a shocking revelation, please know this. It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to grieve for what was. But you are stronger than you think. You can find your way through. Hold on to love. Hold on to hope. Be kind to yourself. Healing takes time, but it is possible. Your story is still being written. You can find a new path, a new way forward. Keep going. You are not alone.